friends and family, and hello puppy. Today's practice is going to be very simple. It's going to be based around a couple of different types of sun salutations, which, if you're new-ish to the yoga practice, is a set of sequence of postures that is very rhythmic and simple. It's used as a warm-up or sometimes as like a little reset between sequences. It's meant to be like a coming home or an arriving into your practice. We're going to go through two different types. Sorry, I'm distracted. And yeah, it'll be a little bit energizing because we'll be standing up and going back down and standing up and going back down. And my encouragement is that you would, instead of going through the motions, really feel into each posture that you're moving through. And that's our challenge, I think, in the rest of life as well, in the rest of our days. Instead of just going through the motions, even though it's familiar, can you create some type of presence around it, some type of ritual? That being said, we're going to get started in a child's pose at the back of your mat. So bring your knees out wide, big toes to touch in the center. Sit your hips back onto your heels and then stretch your arms forward, fingertips forward. Rest your forehead down onto the mat. And then roll your head side to side. Give your forehead a little massage. And close your eyes down and feel into your breath for the first time today, possibly, or at least the first time here and now. Notice where it flows easily. Notice where it feels like it gets stuck. And in this posture, let's try to fill up outwards through our ribs. And so letting the lungs fill with air, let this then create an outward motion, expanding between each rib space. Exhale softly, release the breath. 2 more times, inhale. Full and slow all the way up to the top. Exhale out of your mouth. One more. Start to sway side to side, so coming over to the right enough that your ribs meet your upper thigh, your top of your thigh, and then over to the left ribs meet left thigh. Keeping hands firmly planted onto the mat. This will also open up into the lats a little bit. And then as you're ready, open your eyes. Roll on up into a tabletop pose. Stack your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees. And we're going to sway forwards and backwards, getting a nice wrist stretch to start out with. So shifting over the middle finger, and then back towards the palm. Create a couple circles in one direction. And then moving to the opposite direction. Flip your hands so that your fingertips are pointing outwards and your palms where the wrist crease is facing each other, and then sway side to side, left and right. Even here, notice which fingers you're putting weight into. Notice if one side feels different than the other. And go ahead and point your wrist creases forwards and your fingertips back towards your body. This time, lean your weight back, possibly lifting the palms off the mat. And hold this stretch 3 breaths. Good. Sit back onto your heels, interlace your fingers, and give the wrists a roll one direction. Circle them out. And then switch the other way.
Feel out your shape here. Bend your knees, walk out your dog. Maybe bounce your chest towards the tops of the thighs. Again, opening up through the lats to the outer armpits. And take a couple spinal rolls to start. So on an inhale, you're going to lift up like you have high heels onto the balls of your feet. And then let the tucking of your pelvis move its way up into your spine as you round and shift your weight forward into a rounded high plank, pushing the ground away. Back of the heart spreads. And then as you exhale, you're going to bend your knees, untuck your pelvis so you flick your sit bones up towards the sky, and let that arching make its way into your spine and your neck as you glide back to down dog. Moving with the breath. Inhale, roll forward to high plank, find some rounding. Exhale, bend your knees, unlock your pelvis, glide and arch back, downward facing dog. Close your eyes, move with your breath. Let it feel really good and embodied and flowy and unique to you. Doesn't need to look a certain way. You don't need to bend your knees a certain amount. Let's take 2 more. And then we'll meet in downward facing dog. Good. From here, inhale. We're going to move through some traditional sun salutation A. As you inhale, lift up onto the balls of your feet. Exhale, you can either walk or step or hop or float. Just make your way to the top of the mat. Feet come forward, and you're in an Uttanasana forward fold. Generous bend in your knees, whatever you need. Inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to the shins or to a block. Create a flat back, holding your chest through your shoulders, crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, fold, release. Press through your feet, inhale to rise. Arms sweep out and up, maybe add a back bend if you want. Exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Breathe in, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into a plank, and lower so that your elbows are bent at 90 degrees. Always have the option to drop your knees. Inhale, flip to the tops of your feet. Pull your chest through to an upward facing dog. If that's a lot on the low back, please lower your thighs to the mat, bend your elbows, and do more of a cobra shape. If you're with me, inhale, upward facing dog, and then exhale, we flip over the toes, downward facing dog. I'll do another round pretty detailed like that, and then we'll move through several rounds on our own. Inhale, come up onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, top of the mat, forward fold, hop, step, float, walk. Make your way. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release again. Push through your feet. Come up to rise on an in-breath, arms sweep out and up. Gaze up towards the sky. Exhale, swan dive back down. Breathe in, halfway lift, find some length from your sit bones through the crown of your head. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to plank pose, lower your elbows to 90 degrees. Inhale, upward facing dog, or any back bend of choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, balls of the feet, bend your knees. Exhale, top of the mat, fold. Breathe in, fill up, halfway lift. Breathe out, release down. Inhale to rise, arms sweep out and up. Find the back bend, look up towards the sky. Exhale, dive forward. Start to find that rhythm. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back. Lower into chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Keep moving on your own. Whatever pace matches your breath. You know the movements now, and if you don't, you can watch me. But let it come natural. Even if you don't follow this exact sequence, find some type of rhythm, some sequence of poses that feels really good in your body. And then just do it a bunch. scooch round.
Notice if you're present in the transitions between the poses. Notice if you, once you get to a pose, do you embody it? Do you just kind of hang out in it for a breath for a second before you move on to the next? Instead of rushing through, try to ride the whole length of your inhales and exhales. Let them be really sweet and fill your body. And then really releasing, getting everything out. If you mess up, like I totally forgot where I was, do what feels next. It feels best next. Couple more rounds of Sun A. Notice if you as you keep going, do you start to feel a little more active and a little more open? Maybe things start to come more naturally, not as forced into the body, but more like a smooth transition. Finish up whatever round you're on, and we'll do a final round together. Make your way in the next couple breaths to downward facing dog. And then when you get there, next inhale, lift your heels high. Exhale, bend your knees, step to the top of the mat, Uttanasana. Head hangs heavy. Inhale, halfway lift, fill up. Exhale, fold. Push through your feet. Inhale to rise, arms sweep high. Exhale, dive back down. Breathe in, flat back. Breathe out of your mouth. Plant your hands, step back to plank, lower into chaturanga. Inhale, flip over your toes, upward facing dog or cobra. Pull your heart through your shoulders, active through the glutes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Close your eyes and spend several moments here. If you feel any energy moving through your body, just be with it. Don't shy away from it. See where it goes, see how it feels. Let your breath start to slow. And as you're ready, inhale, ripple forward to high plank. Exhale, lower your knees to the mat. Sit your hips onto your heels. Interlace your fingers again. We're going to roll out our wrists like how we started. Give them a little break. Roll them the opposite way. Next, we have the option, if you want to keep moving through those traditional Sun A's, by all means, go for it. If that felt good and energizing and cleansing and clearing, please take that option. Otherwise, we're going to do a different variation of Sun Salutation A's that I learned from my yoga training called Awakening Yoga Academy. And the main differences are, instead of doing folds and halfway lifts, you do an active squat at the top of the mat, and then when you lower into chaturanga, you're going to do a full push-up variation, but we'll chat about it. So, plant your hands, tuck your toes, glide your hips back, down dog.
The start is the same. Inhale, rise up onto your toes, bend your knees. Exhale, your feet are going to step to the outsides of your hands. Toes out, heels in slightly. Inhale, drop your hips to the height of your knees, reach your hands forward, active squat. Energetically pull your knees outwards, nice and engaged through your glutes. And then exhale, we stand. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, lift up and out of your body, reach your hands high, then reach them into the space behind you. Exhale, hands through heart center, sit into your active squat. Inhale, hands plant, look forward. Exhale, step back. Go through a full push-up, even if that means your knees are planted. And at the end of your exhale, you're going to lower your knees and your elbows to the mat. Inhale, scoop your body through to an upward facing dog or the cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. So a little more active with the push-ups and the squat, but really available for any body type. Inhale, rise up onto your toes, bend your knees. Gaze between your thumbs. Exhale, feet land to the outside of your hands. Drop your hips low, hands reach in front of you. Inhale, active squat. Exhale, stand, hands to heart center. Inhale, gaze up, interlace your fingers if you want. Maybe turn them inside out, pressing them up to the sky. Exhale, sit into your squat, hands to heart. Inhale, plant your hands, gaze forward. Exhale, step back, move through your full push-up. At the end of your exhale, lower knees and elbows into this kind of child's pose variation. Inhale, slide through into your upward facing dog. Exhale, roll over the toes, down dog. I'll go through one more cued round with you. Inhale, lift up on your toes, bend your knees, gaze forward. Exhale, active squat, feet are nice and wide. Inhale, lift your torso, shoulders stack over hips. Exhale, stand, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach high and into the space behind you. Engage your glutes in the back bend. Exhale, sit your hips low, hands to heart. Breathe in, plant your hands, gaze forward. Breathe out, you can hop or step through your plank, your push-up, lower onto elbows and knees. Breathe in, scoop your way forward. Breathe out, tuck your chin, roll back, down dog. Move through a few more rounds if you remember how it goes. If you don't, you can watch me. Or if you want, you can do the traditional variations. Again, my encouragement is to actually feel into each pose and not just go through the motions. Also feels good to close your eyes. Can you feel when each palm is planting? Can you pull back through your thighs, really engage through your legs? Make it a flow. One pose into the next. Finish up whatever round you're on, and then we'll do one final round together. So in the next 2 breaths or so, meet me in a downward facing dog. Next, inhale, lift your heels, bend your knees, gaze forward. Exhale, step, hop, walk, float, feet to the outside of your hands. Sit your hips low. Inhale, active squat, arms reach in front of you. Exhale, stand, hands to heart. Inhale, gaze up, lean back, open up. Exhale, sit down.
Hands plant. Breathe in. Big exhale steps you all the way back through your push-up, lower onto knees and elbows. Inhale, roll through, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Close your eyes, several breaths to land. Let whatever is shifting have a time and a place to do so in your body or in your energy, in your emotions. As you're ready, inhale, roll forward to high plank. Exhale, lower your knees to the mat. Sit your hips to your heels. Release your fingers one more time, circle out the wrists. One way, and then the other way. Walk your hands forward. We're going to find a puppy pose on a Hatasana. Hips stay stacked over your knees. Walk your hands forward as far as you can. And then the idea is that your heart would melt into the mat before your chin touches. If that's a whole lot, just walk your hands forward and rest your forehead down. Think about spiraling your biceps up to the sky and wrapping outer armpits down. Breathe here. Can you soften a little more for these last 3 breaths? As you're ready, find a tuck of your pelvis up and in, and let that roll you all the way forward. So your thighs lower up to the mat, the pelvis lowers, and you're just propping up on your elbows in Sphinx pose. Walk your elbows out a little bit wider, and release every finger except for your thumbs, and drop your forehead down. Maybe give yourself a little massage with your thumbs. Soften your shoulders. Find that slowing and that calming of your breath again. Close your eyes down if they're not already. I would love for us to call into mind just one area of your life that you have been going through the motions in, something that is so routine and mundane and just so basic to your life that you forget about it. In my training, the teachers, really emphasize the difference between mindless repetition. So we could go through our sun salutations or our work days, our chores at home, our good mornings and good nights to our loved ones, exercise. We could go through it with mindless repetition. Or with a little bit of intentionality and presence and focus and a lot of practice, we can face all these things with a mindful ritual. Mind is present in what the body is doing. And there's something that can be really sacred about it. It's a ritual, it's not just repetition, it's on purpose and it's embodied. So think about that one area that you call to mind and make it a point to just one time this week, which maybe will turn into 2 times, which maybe will become a regular thing for you. Be in that thing that you're doing. As always, you have the option to stay longer wherever you are, or if you want to roll all the way onto your back or lower all the way onto your belly, please take that. But otherwise, let's go ahead and find a seat. You can softly open your eyes, cross your legs. Keep your gaze soft though, so maybe gaze down. Place your hands somewhere along your thighs or your knees. We'll take one breath together to end our practice. So empty the air from your lungs. Inhale, fill up all the way. Hold at the top. Exhale, open your mouth side out. Thank you for practicing with me. A very simple practice, a very basic one that can be viewed as boring, and I get that because that is the way I work too, but there's a certain little flow you get into when you just accept something for what it is and you're not looking ahead to what would make it better or more exciting, and you're not comparing it to any way you've done it in the past, and you're just flowing through it. So that is the goal of this practice. I hope maybe you learned something, or maybe you just enjoyed it in some way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and then I do leave my Venmo username if anyone feels so obliged to donate. That would be amazing. Thank you, and I will see you next time.